So I got a question right off the bat. Do you have to be a comic book expert to have a comic book YouTube channel? Please let me know in the comments. The reason why I'm asking that is because there is something that happens in this book that I don't remember happening when I was reading the books in Krakoa. Now, I didn't read the whole Krakoa era. I did not. Not in the slightest. Not even a little bit. But I was like, man, I forgot that this dude was even a mutant. You'll see as we get into it. My name is Dorian. This is SEM Comics. We are starting our covers of Sentinels with number 1. So our story starts off like any military futuristic combat movie. Like, what was your first, like, military futuristic combat movie? Me, it was Aliens. Like, anytime I see a scene like this, I'm like, oh, just like in Aliens. So that's for me. What is yours? Let me know in the comments. Well, come to find out, these guys are jumping out of a reconditioned Mark IV Sentinel. And they're jumping out like they're Captain America with no parachute. And these are our protagonists. We have Lockstep, Sawtooth, Shellback, and Voivod. Then we find out that they are landing in Russia. Well, 3 of them land in Russia. And Voivod landed like a Scud missile. Now they are coming from Graymalkin. For those of you guys that don't know about Graymalkin, that is the mansion that has been turned into a prison. And a heifer is in charge of Graymalkin. That means a heifer is in charge of these guys. Well, kind of in charge of these guys. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you could check out the playlist of Uncanny X-Men. Heifer's all up in that. But if you just hang in there, you'll see who I'm talking about when I talk about heifer. So Lockstep is like the team leader. He's checking on Shellback. I guess Shellback had something going on last night. He was just kind of checking on being a good team leader. He's also letting them know, like, hey, this target is dangerous. So if a squirrel farts, you shoot it. So Voivod feels like Shellback shouldn't be here because fortunately he went through something that I guess all these Sentinels go through, or these humanized Sentinels go through, and he feels like he's a liability. Sawtooth is like, man, I can't believe they only sent 4 of us for this target. Me, I wouldn't have sent anything less than a battalion. So Shellback goes into a church. There's blood everywhere, and they're asking him to report. And he's like, everybody's dead. And this is a crazy scene here. Now, if you're an X-Men fan, we're in Russia. People are dead. Like, you kind of figure who this is, right? And if you said Omega Red, you win the booby prize. That means you can pat yourself right on the back. And also, too, Shellback is being hemmed up by her. So I guess the Sentinels are covered in nanobots, which, you know, the same thing that Iron Man's suit was in Superior Iron Man, which that was a great run. I'm not gonna lie, I love Superior Iron Man. Like, that might be something that we cover, but it might be something that we do like a members only, because I eventually going to start a members only membership. Who says members only membership? That's horrible. You know, I'm not even going to delete that. I'm going to leave it in there because that sounded stupid. So now that we established that their suits are made out of nanites, Lockstep pretty much sends his whole suit to this truck so that he can control the truck. But now he's, well, I guess, and for all intents and purposes, naked, even though he does have a uniform on. But now he's very vulnerable. But he uses that jalopy to hit Omega Red with. And he hit him pretty good with that truck. Because if you look at Omega Red's left arm, his bone is sticking out. But like his hated enemy Wolverine, he has a pretty good healing factor. So Sawtooth, she uses her suit and she takes a significant chunk out of this like plow truck. It makes her suit stupidly big. While she does that, Shellback gets whipped by one of Omega Red's tentacles, which is appropriate because right now he's like a whipping boy. And Sawtooth uses that new suit and knocks the hell out of Omega Red to the point where his jaw is broke. I mean, wide open. And Omega Red just fixes his jaw, his healing factor kicks in, and he's like, huh, I've had my jaw broken since I was a boy. So Omega Red goes after Sawtooth. Voivod decides he's going to get involved. He jumps on Omega Red's back. All of a sudden his arms start glowing and he just blows up on top of Omega Red. So Sawtooth is like, Voivod, you gotta stop blowing yourself up. One of these days you are not going to walk away. So Lockstep goes to check on Shellback, and when he turns, his face is covered in like these machine parts and he's talking in ones and zeros. So I guess this is a thing that happens to these human sentinels and it's called grifting. And I guess once you grift, there's no coming back. Even though Lockstep is trying to figure out something, But Voivod doesn't let that happen and shoots Shellback right in the head. So Lockstep's like, Voivod, I didn't give the order. And Voivod's like, come on now. We all know you weren't going to, and it had to be done. So as that's going on, we go back to the headquarters where we have Karina Ellis, aka the Heifer. That's the only time I'm ever going to say her government name. She runs Graymalkin prison, and she is not seeing eye to eye with Larry Trask. Yes, Larry Trask, the son of Boulevard Trask. And if you don't know who Boulevard Trask is, he is the person that invented the Sentinel Program. And as the Heifer and Larry are arguing, she brings up something that I totally forgot. She's like, I'm sorry, you don't really have a place here ever since Xavier brought you back. Yeah, I totally forgot that Larry Trask is a mutant. I also didn't know that Xavier brought him back. That was something totally new to me. I guess it happened in Core, had to happen in Core, because that's when mutants came back. If you know what series and what issue that actually happened in, please let us know in the comments. So now we see that our human Sentinels have made it back from their mission, and I guess are getting their treatments. You got Lockstep and you got Voivod. Voivod is trying to make nice with Lockstep. Lockstep don't want nothing to do with him right now. And then we have a new person show up. Her name is Drumfire. So they already replaced Shellback. And this pisses off Lockstep. So then we cut to Larry, and he is remembering when Xavier brought him back. Well, Lockstep pretty much opens the door, let himself in, and is all yelling at Mr. Trask, talking about a new boot. Like, you don't even talk to me about this like I'm the team leader. But trust me, Larry is pissing off everybody, not just his team and the Heifer. So now Larry decides to tell Lockstep a story of what happened in England in 1281. There were these two towns that were separated by these woods that had a whole bunch of wolves in it. Well, I guess the two towns decided that they would team up to get rid of all the wolves because, the wolves were starting to just kill everything. So once they got rid of all the wolves, all of a sudden this old blood feud that these two towns had reunited, and then they started killing all of each other. The moral of the story is that mutants and humans need Sentinels. The Sentinels are the wolves. They keep the two species separated. If there are no Sentinels, then humans and mutants would just destroy each other. So then Lockstep goes back to his barracks and he's just kind of hanging out. And I guess he has this AI system. I guess they all have this AI system that kind of talks to him, but also just keeps an eye on them. And he asks about his son, and the AI does a search for him, and he doesn't find anybody by that name, but he looks at the picture, and then he kind of does a facial recognition and says, but there is this one guy, he lives in New Jersey. His name is similar, but it's a different last name. So obviously the son changed his last name. So the AI is like, I have a cell phone number. Would you like me to contact him? And unfortunately, we don't get anything after that because we go straight to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where Larry Trask is sitting with the board and her pretty much firing his ass. They're like, you don't listen to nobody. You are fired. So while that's going on, you got Sawtooth and Drumfire pretty much dropping off Omega Red to his new home in Graymalkin prison. And Drumfire is pretty much asking what happens in this prison, and Sawtooth's like, we don't know, all we do is drop them off. What happens after that, that's on them. Now obviously by the look of it, they are torturing these mutants, and as soon as they take Omega Red to his prison cell, all you hear is stop, and this dude comes barging through the door. Not just any dude, it's Mr. Dukes. That's right, the Blob. But then we cut back to Larry, and he's pretty much like, you guys can't fire me. There's no way you can fire me. Pretty much, he is a precog, so he's like Destiny. He can see the future. He sees something in the future that involves Sebastian Shaw and Omega Red. That's why they grabbed Omega Red, and probably going to grab Sebastian Shaw soon. But also see other things that's very important to this company, like tech stocks and oil futures and locations of vibranium and lithium deposits and crop failures. So pretty much like, you need a precog to predict all this stuff, so you guys keep making money. So no, I'm not fired. Just one time before I die, I want to know that feeling. You just walk in there and be like, you're fired. And you're like, no, you can't fire me. There's no way you can fire me. I'm not going anywhere. So shut your mouth. Now we cut back to Graymalkin. Sawtooth went to go deal with the Blob, And while that's happening, Drumfire is left with Omega Red, and Omega Red already did what he needed to do to get himself free, and he attacks Drumfire. The board is pretty much like, alright, we see your point. Just let us in on some of these decisions that you're making before you make the decisions. He's like, yeah, I got you. He gets an alert on his phone, and he already made another decision he told nobody about this new Sentinel that he got cooking right in his lab. So Sawtooth is shooting the Blob. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of wondering what happened to the Blob after Uncanny Avengers, and now we see he went straight to prison. So Omega Red is pretty much talking all kinds of craziness, because if you follow the character, Omega Red kind of talks kind of crazy. And he's like, all of a sudden he's like, why is it so cold? And Drumfire is like, I absorb the ambient energy in the room and then redirect it like this, and shoots him with this blast out of her mouth that takes out Omega Red. So she passes out after that, and then she wakes up, and Sawtooth was like, so team gave you Godzilla breath, huh? Not bad. But as she's looking behind Sawtooth, all she sees is Onslaught. Now, Sentinels is a 5-part miniseries. It ain't going any issue over that. Trust me, it's 5 and gone, which is a shame, because if you should be reading anything right now, it should be Sentinels. My name is Dorian. This is SCM Comics. We're continuing our coverage of Sentinels with number 2. Our story starts off with a blast from the past. I feel like I'm back in high school, where you got the Fantastic Four and the Avengers fighting Onslaught. Now, I guess you could say my first event was Age of Apocalypse, but my first Marvel event that involved damn near everybody was Onslaught Saga. I forgot whether it was my junior or senior year. All I remember is we'd be getting ready for the game. We'd hop on the bus. We'd be headed there. Everybody be either listening to music, talking amongst each other. Me, I was knee deep in these comics. I used to get ridiculed about reading these comics. Everybody telling me to grow up. Now it's something cool. Anyway, Vision is talking to this girl, and he's trying to tell her, we need to get out of here. And she's like, no, my mom says we need to stay, so we're going to stay. And Vision's like, you don't have a wall anymore. We need to go. You're not protected here. And she's still fighting Vision. And Vision, does a scan. Look, the EMP that Onslaught put out pretty much tore up your mama's pacemaker. She is dead. And we need to go. And she's like, I know. I just... I could carry her too, but again, we need to get out of here. I like how they're looking back and going over the aftermath of past events, because when you're reading the comic, all you're seeing is how the villain is affecting the superheroes, but you don't see how it affects everybody else. Professor Xavier's Onslaught killed a lot of people, which is crazy to think about. But that was a memory from Drumfire, our newest Sentinel, and she is trying to cope with it by being drugged up. Whatever they're giving the Sentinels, I guess she took a double dose, because she don't want to be coherent at all. So then the team leader Lockstep walks in, and he has a control collar, and he's like, we need to get this on the target no matter what, because this will neutralize his power. Now the target is Sebastian Shaw. I'm not going to say it, that's who it is. And then to make matters worse, we got to go into Bagalia. Hope I pronounced that right. Which is a country ran by bad guys for bad guys. I guess that's Marvel saying we use Magiport too much. We need another country to use besides Magiport. Then he's like, hey guys, it gets worse. The target, Sebastian Shaw, has done something so f***ed up that he is now in a prison designed by bad guys, ran by bad guys, for bad guys. Hydra is running this prison. If that tells you anything. And it's 300 meters underground, so Graymalkin can't see or hear anything. So we're going in blind, and we'll stay blind until hopefully we come out with the target. Hopefully. And 17 minutes later, we see Voivod getting thrown through a wall and getting his butt handed to him by Sebastian Shaw. And Sebastian Shaw is on his game. He's like, you tragic and soon to be screaming halfwit. You just try to overpower me, a living capacitor, with a really big gun? And Voivod, who is being choked out by Sebastian Shaw, goes, joke's on you, pal. Can't scream if I can't breathe. So then all these Sentinel nanites start to attack Sebastian Shaw, and that is Lockstep trying to help out Voivod by sending his nanites, which is pretty much his suit, to try to do something to Sebastian Shaw, but that leaves him exposed, and right now he's in the middle of a prison riot. Sawtooth is trying to fight her way through a crowd. She's beating up inmates and guards, and then you got Drumfire, who's somewhere in like the sub-basement. So Sebastian Shaw takes those nanites that are crawling on him, crushes them, and then puts them in Voivod's mouth. Like he just beating this dude down. And then he explains to him how doesn't matter what the situation is, anytime he's put into a cage, he makes it into his castle. So then Voivod's like, that's funny. Anytime I'm getting my ass beat and you are beating my ass, I tend to do this. And he blows himself up. So then Sawtooth runs through a brick wall with some Hydra agents dangled on her. One falls off, the other one is still hanging on, and she's like, what the hell are you doing? We just ran through a brick wall. Fall off already. So as she ran through the wall, she now sees Voivod, who is blown the hell up, and she sees Sebastian Shaw wrecking shop because obviously he just absorbed all that energy, so now he's bigger and badder than ever. So she runs to him, crushes a Hydra agent as she's running to him, like that dude is dead or at least paralyzed. Once she gets to him, she's like, you gotta stop blowing yourself up. And he's like, it's cool, you know, ever since that green punk T-boned my tank, like I feel like I've been on borrowed time anyway. And he's talking about World War Hulk. Like, you don't want to run into the Hulk on any day, but especially when he was World War Hulk. Oh my goodness gracious, the maddest he's ever been. And he was taking people out. So she knocks down Sebastian Shaw. Lockstep's nanites go back to him, which is good because like I said, he's in the middle of a prison riot, and he starts taking out some of the prisoners and the guards. He has been steady trying to talk to Drumfire. She's downstairs in the sub-basement, and right now she's having hallucinations. She's seeing Onslaught, and Onslaught said, I need, and all she goes is, you need. And she's like, you killed my mom, and she blasts Onslaught. But she didn't blast Onslaught. She blasts a Hydra agent, who should be dead now. So then we go back up where Sebastian Shaw is tearing up Sawtooth's suit. She's trying to protect Voivod, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a hand goes across Sebastian Shaw, and he starts getting cold. She's doing the same thing that she did to Omega Red and Graymalkin. She's pretty much freezing him, to the point to where Sebastian Shaw's like, she's killing me. And then Lockstep has to step in and go, look, we're supposed to be bringing back a prisoner, not a popsicle. And then their ride, which is a traditional Sentinel, crashes into the prison to come pick him up. And then we cut to Westchester, where Lockstep is having, looks like breakfast with his son, and his son is digging a waitress, who is a mutant. So Lockstep's like, so you need to quit staring. And his son's like, don't you like hunt down mutants for a living? And he goes, no, we don't just hunt down mutants. And besides, my boss is a mutant. So then the son is like, but you still hunt down a lot of mutants. So then Lockstep's like, look, the mutants got their own island and pretty much told the world to go kiss their asses, which was in their rights. But now the island's gone, the mutants are back, and some of them are down in the dumps and very dangerous. We take care of those mutants. And then we see that his son has a Dazzler World Tour shirt on, so his son is definitely into mutants. But he's pretty much like, the reason why I came here is because mom borrowed some money from some people that you shouldn't borrow money from to save the house. Now they want their money back plus interest, and we need your help. But now we cut to Graymalkin, where we have Larry Trask is bragging to the heifer how he caught the Black King. And the heifer's like, yeah, okay, you want a cookie? Gotcha. And hangs up the phone. And she's talking to her scientist. She's like, we got to do our own Sentinel program because I can't stand that motherfucker. So they're using dogs. And this dog comes out and he starts to do his thing. But all of a sudden, he starts attacking his own implants. And then he dies of a heart attack. So I don't know if it was an AI talking to her or like another employee. But he's like, or they're like, I apologize, Miss Ellis. That's the heifer's real name. And they're trying to like comfort her. And she's like, just give me another fucking dog. The heifer is feisty. Now, normally this is where I would end the video. But the next issue, they're going to be going after Magneto, who they say is the biggest and baddest mutant of them all. Now, if Magneto has none of his powers, which we haven't seen him at all in X-Men, then yeah, they could probably get him. But if he has just a fraction of his powers, they have officially bit off way more than they can chew. Out of all these X books, Sentinels is definitely up there as one of the best. Alex Paknadel, is killing it. My name is Dorian. This is SC of Comics. We continue our coverage of Sentinels. Number 3. Our story starts off with Drumfire being questioned by the Heifer. And the Heifer keeps calling her Shellback, who died in the first issue, which just shows you the character of this lady. She's pretty much trying to find out what exactly went wrong on this last operation because, things definitely went south. So now we cut to Lockstep and Drumfire. They're outside somebody's door. Lockstep's hand starts to shake. Drumfire's like, you okay? Lockstep's like, I'll be fine. Those are the first signs of grifting. Grifting to these Sentinels pretty much means they start talking in 1s and 0s or code, and it's pretty much curtains for them. So they kick down the door, and their target is Fabian Cortez. Now, if you're not familiar with Fabian Cortez, man, some of our first videos that we covered on the channel was Fatal Attractions, and Fabian Cortez is all up in that, and he's in rare form in that series. I'll make sure there's a link to the playlist in the description, but yeah, Fabian Cortez is not a great person. Like, he ranks right up there with Sebastian Shaw, but in this instance, he's running a clinic. See, Fabian Cortez's power is he can boost other mutants' powers, but it's only mutants, it's not humans. But for some reason now, he's also able to treat humans. Now, Larry Trask is thinking that it's got something to do with the resurrection protocol. Like, when they brought him back, it kind of messed with his powers. And he's like, it doesn't matter. He's a rebel rouser because Fabian Cortez is a rebel rouser. I'll give him that much if you go off of his history. It's like, just take him now. But one of the humans that he was treating in the clinic jumps all over Lockstep and tells Fabian Cortez to run. So that's exactly what he does, and jumps right out the window. So he's running, but Voivod and Sawtooth are like dead behind him. So Lockstep is trying to tell the dude to get off of him to calm down, but then Drumfire comes and just throws the dude off, like throw him off. And pretty much this is a story being told to the Heifer by Drumfire, and the Heifer's like, that don't sound like Lockstep. Like, you're saying he was out of control? And Drumfire's like, yeah, he was not in control. So the Heifer's like, you've been taking a lot of mood regulators. Like, are you sure you can take all this stuff into account? She's like, yeah, it's for my hallucinations, as she is right now imagining Heifer as Onslaught. I think I prefer Onslaught. So Voivod and Sawtooth are still chasing after Fabian Cortez when all of a sudden they're like, you don't see him at first. You feel them, like your hair stand on the back of your neck and stuff starts to dance in front of your eyes. And then Fabian Cortez is down there like, what the hell happened to him? And then look up, and it's Magneto. Now, when it comes to Fabian Cortez and Magneto, there is no love lost whatsoever, not the slightest. So then Heifer's like, are you sure it was Magneto? And they're like, yes, it was Magneto. And Heifer's like, yeah, but we got like intel that he's in Alaska and he's not doing well. And they're like, well, he's doing fine now because he took 100 pounds of rebar and ran it through Voivod like he was lacing a football. So Drumfire and Lockstep get there, and Lockstep's like, shoot him in the head. Oh, I'm thinking to myself, metal bullets, not gonna work. Magneto's like, are you guys Sentinels now? Oh, that's horrible. He just takes him and throws him aside. But then Sawtooth comes out of nowhere. She does her thing, like she gets all kinds of metal around her. And as she charges, like she's a big, huge robot, right into Magneto. Magneto's like, you're going to regret wearing those colors. And then uses his power, starts taking her apart, separates all the metal from her, and then collapses it right on her. So Lockstep is with Voivod, who's traumatized, and anybody would be. Drumfire starts to do her freezing thing, but then she shoots a blast at Magneto. Magneto gets pissed and is like, I'll be back for you later. Then sends out an EMP that knocks everybody out. So everybody starts to wake up a few minutes later. Fabian Cortez was taken by Magneto. And then we see Voivod start to griff. Starts talking in 1s and 0s. So Drumfire's about to shoot him. Lockstep, he still can't get up or move. He's like, don't you do it. This is my unit. Don't you kill Voivod. Drumfire's like, I have to. He grifted. That's what we're supposed to do. And all of a sudden she gets butt stroked by Sawtooth. So now we go back to Graymalkin. I guess the heifer got all the intel that she needed from Drumfire. Drumfire's like, you're not going to take away my nanites, are you? Because I was in a really bad way before I got these things. And the heifer's like, well, we'll be in touch. Right now you're on administrative leave with pay, but yeah, we'll get back with you. And then she calls in Lawrence. Lawrence, come on in. So the AI that's in Lockstep's trailer knows that Lockstep's starting to grift, but he's like, hey, don't tell Mr. Trash yet. Like right now, I'm still in control. I can handle it. This is what I need you to do. I need you to give me all the known locations of the Magia in New Jersey. So now we go to a cell where you hear somebody talking to 1 zeros. It's Voivod. But he's not grifted, or I guess grifting ain't what everybody thinks it is, because he's still able to speak. And he's telling Mr. Trash that, yeah, your little secret's about to come out. Larry slaps him, and he's like, doesn't matter. Once they find out where this nanotech came from, what are they going to call you? A mutie? A mutant lover? It's not going to be good for you. So it finally comes down, and he's like, they can call me wherever they want. They'll understand in the end as he walks out, and then we see him walk away, and then Sawtooth walks up right behind him and goes to Voivod's cell. So then we cut to somewhere in New Jersey where Drumfire just dropped $7,829 to this mafia guy. I know they like to say Maggie or whatever. It's a mafia guy. And he's like, I have to rest later for you when I can. And the dude's like, okay, well, that's fine. You're covering that one lady's tab. Who was that, your friend? And he's like, yeah. He's like, all right, well, you know, this only covers the VIG, which is the interest. And he's like, oh no. But next thing you know, he gets punched in the face. So the mafia guy's like, what was that, pal? You kind of stuttered when you was falling down. And then Lockstep goes, I said, I'm not paying it. As all these nanites start wrapping around all these mafia guys and also around him. They're like, oh, you one of those New York guys. I don't know what the hell does that mean. They're like, shoot him. And they start bouncing off. And he's like, you know what? You people think you control everything. Lives, cities, systems. But guess what? I'm in control. And he starts killing everybody in that restaurant. Godfather style.
Sentinels just keeps getting better and better. My name is Dorian. This is SCO Comics. We continue our coverage of Sentinels. Number 4. Our story starts off with Lockstep calling his son, let him know that he ain't got to worry about nobody showing up to his mama's doorstep looking to shake her down anymore. So then his son is very appreciative of what he did and was like, you should come over for dinner sometime. And Lockstep's like, I'll talk to your mom about it. And hangs up the phone. And on the next page, we see him still covered in blood because if he weren't here for the last video, he had to get medieval on some gangsters. Well, out of nowhere, the heifer shows up and tells Lockstep to get into the car. And he was like, ma'am, as you can see, I had to kill some people. And she was like, I know. The perimeter tells me everything. That's a software that they use to track the Sentinels. And he goes, ma'am, I'm also grafting. And she's like, I know. Again, the perimeter tells me everything. I can help. Get into the car. But Mr. Trash says the only option for me right now is either a cell or a casket. And she goes, first off, Mr. Trash couldn't find his own keister with a compass. And besides, after that absolute debacle that you guys pulled in Magipore, Mr. Trash no longer the picture. Now again, get into the car. So speaking of Mr. Trash, we go to Graymalkin prison where he's watching the news report of what Lockstep just did to the gangsters. And as he's about to try to get the hell out of there, he's visited by Phil, or aka Scurvy. So like I said, Mr. Trash, or should I say Larry, is trying to get the hell out of there and go to Sioux Falls, but Scurvy pretty much stops him and is like, look, we could take off that head collar and then you could be bombarded by all these glimpses of the future. I can reach into your mind and find out everything you ever know, or here's an idea. You could just tell me. So now we cut to the cells below Graymalkin, where we have Sawtooth. She's on the outside of Voivod's cell. And all Voivod's human skin has come off, and he looks like a normal Sentinel. And he tells Sawtooth that grafting isn't the end. It's just a door to the beginning. And he's rambling on about finding some boy in a junkyard. He's even calling her by her government name, Camilla. And she's so freaked out that she's back to speaking Spanish. But her Voivod, her ride or die. So she uses her power, she makes her a big old suit, and she breaks him out. So now we cut to another place in the facility where Drumfire is the only one showing up to get her mood regulators. And they're even asking about where's everybody else. He's like, I don't know. I'm the only one that's here. So the doctor's about to give her a shot. He turns around and it's Onslaught. So finally she gets to the point where she's like, these mood regulators don't work because I keep seeing a person I don't want to see. So she breaks her restraint and she just hauls ass right on out of there. So now we cut back to the heifer. She got locked up in the lab and she pretty much lets him know that there is no way to replace the nanotech in his body. The only thing she can do is supplant it. And he goes, supplant? Like replace? And she goes, exactly, as a drill slams into him. So then Perimeter tells her that Voivod has escaped his cell and Sawtooth helped him. So she goes, okay, well, you know what to do. Release the house. So now we cut back to Drumfire and she's looking at a picture of her mother. And then all of a sudden she's visited by Onslaught again. So finally she freaks out and blows the window right out. Well, come to find out, the mood regulators actually did work. She's been seeing Onslaught this whole time because it's been Professor Xavier trying to talk to her. So then we cut to Sawtooth and Voivod and they're running from the hounds. Voivod goes, the boy should be right there, right in that compound. But now we cut back to Larry and Phil as Larry tells them a story about a boy who found the Sentinel that he fixed up. Not only did he fix it up, but he also reprogrammed it to always be by his side and to always protect him no matter what. They went on many adventures and they even joined the Avengers Academy. And unfortunately, the boy died in Avengers Arena, which we were covering on the channel. We got about 3 issues in and then I stopped, and I promise you we're going to get back to that. Like as soon as we start wrapping up some things, we're getting right back to Avengers Academy and we're going to have that whole story. But yeah, that's where he's from. Well, the Sentinel kept his promise to the boy and he never left his side, and he bonded with the boy after he died. And that's what Larry Trask has been getting his samples for the nanobites from the boy from Avengers Arena. So then we cut back to Voivod and Sawtooth. They're getting attacked by the hounds. Sawtooth tells Voivod, just get to the boy, she'll take care of the hounds, and the hounds are just tearing her up. So Voivod just steps in and he starts just dealing with these hounds. Like he's attacking one of them and the other ones are coming for him. And all of a sudden he does what he always does. And she asks him, please don't do it. He's like, I wouldn't be me if I didn't. And he blows himself up. She winds up falling into some opening and then she sees it for herself. Justin Seaford, aka Sentinel Boy. I don't think they call him Sentinel Boy, but I'm calling him Sentinel Boy. And then we cut to the heifer as she's all finished doing whatever she was doing the lockstep. As we turn to the last page, we see that he is no longer himself. I don't know how this slipped through the cracks with me, but it did. This book came out at the end of February. It is currently the end of March, and we're finally covering it. My name is Dorian. This is SEM Comics. We are concluding our covers of Sentinels with number 5. Our story starts off in South Dakota X years ago. Why don't we just say a long time ago? And we're at a funeral home and we see Boulevard Trask handing his son Larry Trask a medal that is from his mother, who is currently in that casket. And Boulevard's like, she loved that medal and she wants you to have it and she wants you to wear it at all times. Really, what that medal is something that pretty much dampens Larry's abilities to look into the future, because he actually saw when and how his mama was actually going to die.
And Larry's like, so is it going to also cut off the good visions that I see? And Boulevard's like, yes, it'll cut off all visions. Now we cut to Graymalkin prison, and we see that it was scurvy that brung that memory back up. Now, this is before Professor Xavier put it on his ass and put him out of commission. So Larry's like, but I thought you told me if I just tell you that you wouldn't go into my head. And Scurvy's like, yeah, I know, I lied. Because I like going in people's heads. And as he's leaving, he forces him to take off his dampening collar. So now we cut to North Salem Farms, where we have Sawtooth, and she's talking to Junk Boy, or his government name is Justin Seifert. Now, I thought he was just in there and it was just harvesting the skin, but he's actually conscious and talking. So as he's talking to him, she starts to griff. And he's like, that's what's supposed to happen. You're off my flesh. Obviously, she doesn't want to, and she starts to cry, and she also hits the container that he's in hard and cracks the glass. So then she's like, you know what, forget this. I'm getting you out of here. And she punches the glass again. She's about to punch it one more time when all of a sudden, laser beams hits her hand, blows it off, and we see that Lockstep is now here. So now we go on the other side of Graymalkin prison. You have some guards. They're looking for a Drumfire. They can't find her, even though they're standing like right next to her. Reason being is because Professor Xavier is using his powers. So Professor Xavier explains to her that he's been trying to talk to her for a while, but every time he tries, she sees Onslaught. So she tries to punch him, but this is his astral projection. And he explains how he is deep down in Graymalkin, locked up, hands behind his head, kneeling down with a big old thing on his head to try to stop his mutant power, which is not working. But he's like, again, you need to calm down. We need to talk. So he tries to explain how Onslaught is not really him. It's just a manifestation of him plus Magneto. And she's like, well, your brain baby killed my mom. So then he's like, all right, you're going to keep fighting me. So I need to fast track this. He touches her forehead with his finger, and all of these thoughts and memories and everything else goes flooding into her head. So now she knows everything that's going on. Everything that's going on with Larry Trask, everything that's going on with Sawtooth and Justin Seifert, everything that's going on with Lockstep. So she's like, well, what can I do from here? They're too far away. And Professor Xavier was like, I think you got a ride. As he looks at the old Mark IV Sentinel. So now we go back to the secret lab where Justin Seifert is being held. Lockstep has been upgraded by Perimeter. That's why he looks like that. But also, too, everything that he sees, now the heifer can see. And she's like, I can't believe Larry Trask was doing this right underneath my nose. Lockstep, you need to destroy everything. So all that's going on, Sawtooth is trying to use her power to steal the metal from Lockstep so that she could repair her arm. But Lockstep ain't having none of it and kicks the Jesus out her ass. Kicked her far. Now she's grifting because she's starting to talk in ones and zeros. Lockstep's coming in for the kill when all of a sudden this big fist comes out of nowhere and knocks the Jesus out this dude. He is now in a crater that was made by the Mark IV Sentinel. Then Drumfire comes out and is like, I heard you needed some help. So now Lockstep is hurt. hurt. This dude is out of commission. And the heifer's like, well, it's over. All of a sudden, Perimeter's like, I want to say that. Technically, I can take this dude over fully and just control his body. I'll just shut him off. So the heifer's like, you ain't saying nothing but a word. Do what you need to do, Perimeter. And that's what Perimeter does. It's like, sorry, Lockstep, but it's what has to happen. And Lockstep's like, sorry, Kevin. Talking about his kid. And then he takes him over and blows right through the Sentinel and grabs Drumfire. So Sawtooth is trying to crawl back to Justin, but that Mark IV Sentinel is about to fall. And when it does, it's right next to her and she goes flying. So Drumfire is trying to talk to Lockstep, but like I said, he's gone. So that ain't him no more. So now she's like, I guess there's only one thing to do. So the Mark IV actually did her a favor because now she's like right next to Justin
and she takes the remaining little power that she has and she punches through the glass and frees Justin. Drumfire finally realizes that it's Perimeter that is controlling Lockstep. So now she's like, all right, well, now I don't feel so bad. And she blasts this dude right in the back of his head. So they fall out the sky and land hard enough to create a big, huge crater. Perimeter is still controlling Lockstep, even though his head is burnt to a crisp. And he starts choking out Drumfire when all of a sudden, Sentinel Jesus, or Justin, comes out of nowhere, puts his hands on Lockstep, and he stops what he's doing. So Sawtooth helps up Drumfire, and she's talking in ones and zeros. And Drumfire's like, oh, you're grifting. It's not a bad time. Finally, Sentinel Jesus is like, look, it's the process. Trust in the process. You guys will be fine. And then he walks over to the Mark IV Sentinel, uses his Sentinel healing powers, and then brings him back to life. Well, back online anyway. He uses his technological glue to secure him to the Sentinel, and the Sentinel is flying off looking better than ever. And before we move on, Drumfire and Sawtooth did ask about Lockstep and if there was anything that Sentinel Jesus could do. And Sentinel Jesus pretty much was like, I tried, but he was actually too scared, so there was nothing I could do. So he's done. And in saying that, the Heifer's talking to Scurvy. Since Lockstep can't be brought back online, then they're pretty much saying that he's dead, and they let his next of kin know, which is his son Kevin. And he's obviously distraught because he felt like he just got his dad back. But then the Heifer is making one more stop to a cell. As she opens the door, all she hears is, in the future, there will be a legion, yes, and there will be a terrible war of thunders. In the future, the Dark X-Men will rise. In the future, a Wolverine will see the stars. In the future, the children of the Atom will all hunt the Father. The future is now, because that's going on as we speak. And all who opens the Executioner's briefcase will be stung. Won't that be something? And she goes, you know what, Lawrence? I think you and I together have finally found your place in this world. And that's how the story ends. So please let me know in the comments, how'd you like this series? Me, I loved it. Like, this was a fantastic series. And let me know in the comments also, is this how the Heifer stays ahead of the X-Men? By using Larry Trash to pretty much predict the future? Let me know in the comments.